I think the millennial milestone that I'm skipping is complaining for years on end about how shitty life is before I finally decide to just do better and make my life better. That's my hot take on this one. Yeah, especially right now, everybody's complaining. Houses are so expensive. I'm never gonna be able to buy a house. Um, when it's like, bro, even if the price of housing dropped today, even if rates went down 3% today, you wouldn't be able to buy a house, okay? Because your spending habits are fucking dog shit. Okay, I had better spending habits when I was 13 years old. Okay, so it's like, what are we talking about? Like, yeah, you can't buy a house. There is no fucking reality. There's no fucking timeline. Okay, where you have your financial habits and you're able to buy a house like right now. You know what I mean? It just doesn't exist. You know, Casual Exchanges podcast, where most of the time we are going to try to walk through thinking about novel, everyday, normie problems. But this is going to be a lot like those super rare coffee beans that they pull out of like elephant shit. Okay, well, sometimes you get those rare coffee beans. Other times it's just a pile of elephant shit. Welcome in. We're already stumbling into some weird shit, if I'm being honest. Am I the asshole because I killed a chicken in front of a 12-year-old boy who was guilty of injuring it? Okay, so like, how injured was the fucking chicken? Okay, was it like gravely injured? Like mortally wounded? Or was it not? You know what I mean? Um, there's a few questions. Would 1,000 difference make a difference in your life? It's funny. Everybody's going to complain that $1,000 isn't shit, but at the same time, if you offer them $1,000, they might actually just suck your dick for it. So, kind of weird. Had to report a coworker for filling our work GPT with porn. Wait, what? I didn't even know you could use ChatGPT for that. Wow, here I am using ChatGPT to like better understand like tax structures and fucking business filings and how to create a small business. And these motherfuckers are just gooning to it, bro. Oh my god. I've been fucking using it the wrong way this whole time. You guys wake up at 6 a.m. What time do you go to sleep? It depends. For some reason, I seem to wake up between the hours of. Actually, it varies. So, like during the week, I'll wake up anywhere between like 4 and 7 to go pee. And during the weekend, it's more like between like 5 to 8. I wake up to go pee, but then I just go right the fuck back to bed. Doesn't matter. Even if so, just to show you how fucked up I am. Yeah, my alarm goes off at 7:20. If I wake up at 7 o'clock to go pee, I'm getting right the fuck back in bed. It's a character flaw I'm working on. Today I fucked up by eating too much kale. Did you shit yourself? How cooked am I? Was something you are confident you will never do in life? Fucking fly a plane? Actually, maybe I'll start looking into my pilot license. Yeah, this is interesting. How's overpopulation and birth rate simultaneously a problem? Yeah, so this is interesting point here. The birth rate thing is something that we're not fully feeling the effects of yet. It's something that is going to it's a snowball. Okay, that I mean, I haven't like super looked into the data to see like how far it's fallen or anything like that. But personally, not something I um look into a ton. I'm not gonna fucking repopulate the earth. Okay, I don't care if people have kids. Just to be clear. Okay, but yeah. So what the potential problem is like with the reason these things can kind of come together, right? Is that we do have a shitload of people. Okay, we may have not built up the infrastructure to support the influx of people, and then you also have to remember like there's migration and stuff like that too. Okay, so um, it's not just like if this country the birth rate starts sipping and stuff like that, it can still increase population through other mechanisms. Okay, um, so it can simultaneously receive a large influx of people that it's not currently equipped to handle, and then also because of the falling birth rates, Okay, people are starting to age out of the workforce, which is a problem because all those people, they get to a point, they retire, and then they need to be taken care of. Okay, and the workforce to support them is now smaller than it used to be. Okay, smaller workforce means smaller taxable base. Would you rather get $1 billion, but it's taken from the poorest people alive, or 10 million from the richest people alive? Okay, so like, no offense, but if you take $1 billion from the poorest people alive, you're you're thinking in terms of like dollar bills. Okay, 10 billion from the poorest people alive is actually going to be like chickens and rubles. You know what I mean? And like random barter shit. Like you're just gonna wake up one day and your house is full of all this random shit. It's not actually gonna be dollar bills because the poorest people alive don't actually have dollar bills living here in America. You know what I mean? They're from actually like third world countries and shit like that. But all that to say, I would just take it from the richest people alive. I'd probably never notice it, and it's still $10 million, bro. That's still pretty good. Interesting. I wonder if I actually kind of. I'm curious about this one. Which universal life milestone are you proudly skipping? Example: buy a house or get married. Are these universal milestones? I don't know. I guess maybe I fall into the trap sometimes of thinking that like we've moved past some of these ideas, but maybe we really haven't. I'm curious. So I I think the actual the millennial milestone that I'm skipping is complaining for years on end about how shitty life is before I finally decide to just do better and make my life better. That's my hot take on this one. And I also think we should probably just put a little bit more. Not that we should necessarily skip these altogether, but I think we should just put a little bit more time, energy, thought, and intentionality into some of these decisions that we're making. Right, like buy a house. Like, yeah, especially right now, everybody's complaining houses are so expensive. I'm never gonna be able to buy a house. Um, when it's like, bro, even if the price of housing dropped today, even if rates went down 3% today, you wouldn't be able to buy a house, okay? Because your spending habits are fucking dog shit, okay? I had better spending habits when I was 13 years old, okay? So it's like, what are we talking about? Like, yeah, you can't buy a house. There is no fucking reality. There's no fucking timeline, okay, where you have your financial habits and you're able to buy a house like right now. You know what I mean? It just doesn't exist, you know? So I just think like again, I want people to be able to buy a house. Like, good for you. Do your shit. You know what I mean? And I want houses to be more affordable. Okay, I want to buy a house eventually, probably. But there was this really weird thing when I was kind of getting out on my own and stuff like that. And I very distinctly remember expressing the fact that like everybody's thing around me, especially like the adults. I was just getting out on my own. I was like 19. Everybody was talking about, well, you know, you got to go to college, you got to get a good job, and you got to be able to, you know, work that good job to be able to buy a house. You know what I mean? That way you're not wasting money renting. And I did like just borderline the opposite. Okay. And it never really bothered me. And everybody was like, "Oh well, renting is just wasting your money." And like, "Oh well, you know, if you don't get college, if you don't go to college, you're gonna be stuck in a dead end job." I don't know, maybe true. Um, but I was like, nah, let's see how it goes. Okay, like probably not gonna go the college route. I'm not super. I was never super keen on the idea. Like I wasted a ton of time like in school. I mean, I'm glad I got my diploma, you know what I mean? But it's like I just didn't have the discipline to really be able to justify whatever like loans that I would have to take out or whatever money I would have to pay for it, you know. I just didn't have the discipline to really make it worth it. I probably would have ended up like some people I know that just I mean, they have a degree but then they also have like, you know, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 in debt, which again, it's fine. Take that degree, go make that money back. But it's like now they have this degree, they have this debt, and they also have no direction. It's like they don't know what the fuck they want to do. They never even thought about it. You know what I mean? Their thing is just like, well, I just want to get a job with my degree that pays me well. It's like, okay, so you just have no fucking idea. No offense. But the as far as like the renting and the housing thing, it's like I have no problem paying rent instead of on a mortgage. You know what I mean? At the same, on some level, I'm doing the same shit. Okay, I'm paying for housing, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but if I had to choose between paying rent on a house or a cardboard fucking box, I think I'm going to pay rent every time. And that's the choice I've been making. Okay. And just to be clear, okay, like once you take on that mortgage and stuff like that, you're responsible for the upkeep of the house and you're responsible for the repairs and you're responsible for all of these things that could potentially go wrong. Now, I'm a millennial, which means that I am not the DIY master of my forefathers. Okay? I can do very basic shit, like very basic shit. Okay? Like if the fucking dangly thing falls off the toilet handle, I can put it back on. You know what I mean? If somebody takes a massive fucking donkey sized shit, okay, I can unclog the toilet. You know what I mean? That's about it. We're starting to reach the upper echelons of my capabilities, okay? So it's like my dad recently bought a home and he has like all these projects going on all the time and he's fucking refurbishing a bunch of shit, fixing the deck and doing all this shit. Okay? That's not me. Okay? Nor do I don't want to spend the time and energy to do that or figure out how to do that just to troubleshoot actually doing it. Okay? So if that's the case, I don't know why I would want to go out for a mortgage, okay? Unless it's insanely cheaper than anything I could find renting, which currently is just not the case. You know what I mean? Same thing with getting married. Now, obviously, right now I am engaged to be married, but there was never this fucking allure, this polish that like, oh, I just want to find somebody and get married, and we're just gonna be so fucking happy. It was like, yeah, I don't know if I actually need to get married. You know what I mean? Like, um, I know a lot of people who have been married multiple times and I'm happier than all of them. I've never been married once, okay, just to be clear. So again, I'm not bashing it. I don't care if you get fucking married, okay? But what I do see is people give it no thought, no time, no energy. They go through life based on vibes with no intentionality behind it, and then they end up married and then divorced. They end up with a mortgage and then getting foreclosed on the house. And it's like, wow, don't you wish you would have thought about that just a smidge more, just a teeny tiny bit more? No? Okay, that's cool too. It's all good. Having kids, loving my nieces and nephews so much, and I'm so happy to have them in my life. They also showed me how much I don't want kids in my life, 24/7. Yeah, and this is an interesting one, and I changed my view over time. I'm not. This is something that's really interesting, and I wouldn't have expected. But I had no experience with kids before my own, and to be frank, I didn't like kids. I didn't. I was never the guy who was like, like, oh hey, like getting with the kids and comforting them when they fall. Like, you'll be okay. You know what I mean? I was a guy that like a kid comes up to me with a broken toy, right? And I'm like, oh sorry, dude, you broke it. And they're sitting there like sobbing boogers all over the place, and and I'm like, yeah, it's broken. Like you just got to be more careful. You know what I mean? It's like I don't like this. It's in two pieces right now. It should be in one. So you did something. You know what I mean? That created two pieces. So it's like our option. I mean, we can like glue it together depending on like the toy. You know what I mean? But the underlying message needs to be like you just got to be more careful with it. You know what I mean? Like throwing it into walls, probably a good way to make sure that your toys don't last very long. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of dry. And I was never the guy that was like goo goo gaga, you know what I mean, with like babies and shit like that. I'm like, um, what's it doing? You know, so it was very interesting, and I think I still have some of that probably with my daughter, where it's like if you see me interacting with my daughter, it might be a little strange because, again, I mean she's like super young, and on some level I probably treat her older than she is, but it's like I'm just not a fan of like the baby talk and like all this shit. It's like at the end of the day, um, you are currently small. One day you will not be. You know what I mean? We need to be working up to that no longer small mentality. But it's obviously a balancing act because it's like, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna fucking take her out into the backyard, hose her off, have her do fucking butterfly kicks, and be like, "We gotta get you ready for training, maggot." You know what I mean? It's like, probably don't need to do that, but some people dig that kind of shit. And also, right now, I think there are a couple. So just to give a few more less anecdotal thoughts on this, right, to step outside of just like my experience with my child, I think there are a couple of things happening that make people like feel like they don't want kids. One is that we have fallen into this habit of saying that everybody is still a child. And I'm guilty of this too. People up to like 30 years old, like, well, they're still young, they're still figuring out life, this, and that. And I think this has a couple potential pitfalls where it's like, well, we're never holding people accountable. You know what I mean? We're just saying like, oh, well, they're still trying to figure it out. It's like, oh, fuck, but also he's like 28 with 2 kids. You know what I mean? It's like, I think it's probably a safe time to start figuring out like how to hold down a job, how to manage your finances, how to create like a healthy relationship environment, how to start developing like how you want to raise your kids, you know what I mean? Like they're a couple of years old now, probably should be thinking about it. So it's like I do think there's a lot of that where we just kind of is it infantilize? I don't know. But we downplay a lot of the responsibility that people should be taking on over the course of their lifetime. But also there's just like a lot of this is going to trigger the fuck out of people. There's a lot of freedom, you know what I mean? Like there's more freedom to, and there's a little bit more acceptance tying into the first thing to where like people just go do what you want, you know what I mean? Like even me, like I don't really care. I'm somebody who like I'm super hard on myself and I take on as much responsibility as I can, and that's the goal, and I want to work towards more. But it's like when it comes to other people, it's like go be free, do whatever the fuck you want, you know what I mean? I don't care. Go to Coachella, get fucking banged in a tent, you know what I mean? And then have to come back and go fucking get tested for STDs. It's all good. I hope you had fun. You know what I mean? Also, like 6 feet, keep your fucking, you know what I mean? Keep your dirty booty away from me. But yeah, so I think there's a couple of things, and then obviously there's the other part, which is like things. Things are expensive. We've come off a really unique and difficult time with all the pandemic shit and all the inflation associated with that. So things are just expensive. People can't envision themselves having kids. There's just a lot being figured out in a short period of time. So I think there's a lot going on, and I'm very curious to see like where we are in like 5 years, as it pertains to like the having kids thing. Get married, like don't need that. I mean, yeah, it's fine. But again, like there's this weird thing. Hmm, what do we think about this one? So again, the way I look at marriage is a couple of things which may or may not be conventional. Like above all else, like it's a legal institution. There are actual like legal um, benefits and commitments being made when you get legally married. You know what I mean? Um, on a more individual social level, it's a commitment to the person. You know what I mean? And saying like, hey, okay, I think I'm willing to stop fucking other people and just go with you the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Um, is probably the way most people look at it. No offense, um, but I just don't. I wonder where this comes from. That people like don't want to get married. They're like their tax benefits. Like for me, at least, like I'm head of household. I provide like I'm the I work to support my family and stuff like that. So for me, when I get married, there's some pretty good tax breaks at the end of that road. You know what I'm saying? But also, like me and my fiance have been together like 9 fucking years, so it's not like something we just did out of the blue. Okay, it's something that we've been working up towards. Um, but I wonder like what the hesitation is behind it, and I wonder what the arguments are behind like not getting married. I can understand like, I guess to think about it for 0.2 seconds, I can understand like if you don't want to like make that legal commitment because you are legally tied to this other person like financially and stuff like that. That's tough and not always super fun if both people involved aren't like financially responsible. So is it actually that, or is it just people wanting to stay a part of like hookup culture where it's like, well, I just want to be free and I just want to go out and be me and do free things, you know what I mean, at Coachella. Like, I don't know. I wonder. I'd be interested in picking somebody's brain about that. Retirement, lol. Never be able to retire. I mean, I know so many people who retired, bro. I think, I just wonder. I just wonder if you were just like dropped as a baby or something. And then also there's this thing where like people are living. Maybe this is going to trigger people too, but people are living longer. You know what I mean? It's like imagine what's the retirement age, like 65 or something like that. You retire at 65 and then you live to be like 100. Like, god damn, you know what I mean? Like that's a lot of years like out of the workforce. But there is going to be this weird thing where people are living longer, and hopefully we get to a point where we're also improving the quality of life of those later years. And I don't mean just like fucking preventative measures or symptomatic relief and stuff like that. I mean like we actually get really good and we shift our culture towards like, hey, we need to stop being fucking lazy pieces of shit. We need to incorporate more movement and things like that so that we actually live longer, better lives. And then it's like, then even at 60, people, feel more like they're 40 or something like that. I do think eventually we'll get to that point where it's like people don't feel the need to retire at 60 because they feel as sharp and as good as they were at 40. You know what I mean? I wonder what it takes. I don't think it's universal, but I do not have the urge to climb the career ladder. I wonder what that means. Like, you don't feel the need to, like, get promotions at your job? Is that what you mean? Same, it's not even that I don't like my job or I don't want to progress. The problem like climbing the career ladder will take me away from the job I like in the direction of being some kind of manager. I don't want to be responsible for other employees, thank you very much. I want to keep working on technical problems. Solving those is what I was hired to do and what I'm good at. Lower to middle management politics, I suck at that. Interesting. I wonder how many other people share this sentiment. For me personally, so like I can actually relate to some of this where they're talking about how do I click this? I want to keep working on technical problems, solving those. And maybe you don't have a particular predilection or a desire to be responsible for other employees and to like have to delegate stuff. I feel like I can actually relate to this on some level because I'm at a similar place where like I do prefer like chunking down problems and then just going step by step and then like fulfilling what seemed like a really big problem, turning it around into a solution. I can really relate to that. And I don't have, if you haven't guessed by now, I don't have a ton of desire to tell other people what to do. I don't think I'm a natural born leader or any of that bullshit. You know what I mean? I think I'm actually, maybe not naturally, but somewhere along the lines, I kind of developed into a bit of a solitude personality to where like I just really excel when people just kind of feed me problems and then just like let me do my shit, and then I'll reach out like where I need to and stuff like that. But I do really well in like independent environments. But also, like if I want to continue solving the bigger problems, if I want the problems to continue to get bigger and challenge me, the fact of the matter is like I also need to get better and I need to progress and I need to get promoted down the line, because like what I'm bumping into is that eventually like a lot of the problems are just a little novel at this point, as I continue to get better at some of the like reporting and analysis stuff that I do. It's like, oh well, I've just gotten really good at identifying certain problems. So it's like the next step is, okay, let's get into the shoes of the people solving those problems, and understanding it from that perspective. And so it just feels like at some point I would probably need to level up if I want to continue chasing down those problems, or else eventually the problems just won't feel like problems anymore. And that's all, folks. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you didn't like the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. That way you can talk shit on my next video too, all right?